Welcome back. In another video, I discussed 3 different methods for completing a blind review when you're studying for the law school admission test, including something that I call a selective blind review. My other video explains exactly what blind review is and how to do it, and I recommend watching that video if you haven't done so already. In this video, we're going to talk about your blind review score. When you complete a practice test or a timed section on some websites, you'll see your actual score, which is based on the number of questions you answered correctly under time conditions. And then you'll see a blind review score, which is based on the number of questions you answered correctly while doing your blind review. Your blind review score will often be higher than your actual score because when you do your blind review, you're taking your time to analyze and understand questions better. So you're more likely to pick the correct answer. Whatever your blind review score is, if you're happy about that score, if you're kind of excited about it, great. Be excited. Celebrate it. Get pumped up. Some people say that your blind review score indicates how well you understand the questions, separate from timing. And that's certainly one way to look at it. What I think is more interesting, though, is to look at the exact questions that you still answered incorrectly when you completed your blind review. Those questions, those specific questions, are showing you what types of questions you're still having trouble with. And this can give you an idea of what you might want to focus on as you're studying for the next couple weeks. If you're taking a prep course or doing a self-study program or using a prep book, it's worth noticing if the questions that you're still not understanding after completing your blind review are ones that you just haven't covered yet. Because if they are, then it might be worth saying, okay, we're going to cover these in an upcoming chapter, or we're going to cover these in an upcoming class, and I'll just wait until then, and I'll get a better understanding then. You might not want to spend a lot of time right now trying to understand those questions or trying to understand those games if you're just going to be covering them in a future lesson. It might make more sense to focus on the question types and game types and concepts that you've already studied and solidify your understanding of any of those that you're still having trouble with. Maybe those questions that you're still not understanding after your blind review are really hard questions. Maybe you go online and you see people saying, yeah, that was a really hard question, or that was an unusually difficult logic game. Or maybe you read an explanation written by an instructor and the instructor says, so this is one of the most challenging questions that I've ever seen on the LSAT. At that point, it's useful to think about your immediate goals. If your practice test scores are currently in the 140s, it might not make a lot of sense to spend time analyzing the most difficult passages and games and questions on the LSAT. It might make a lot more sense to focus on the fundamentals. It makes more sense to look at easier questions and passages and games that you're still not fully understanding, because those will help you move your score up into the 150s. Once you're there, you can build on that knowledge to take on more difficult content. If your practice test scores are in the high 160s or the 170s, then yes, you need to be able to analyze and master the most difficult content on the test, because that's what you need to master in order to advance your score. If your practice test scores are somewhere in between the 140s and the high 160s, then make a choice. It can definitely help to look at some really difficult content to stretch your understanding and stretch your skills. But I wouldn't spend a lot of time focusing on the most difficult passages and questions and games at the expense of solidifying your understanding of the fundamentals and solidifying and cementing your mastery of easier to intermediate level questions. So again, your blind review score may be interesting, and if you're excited about it, celebrate. Do a little dance. I'm serious. But it is more interesting to look at the specific questions that you're still not understanding or answering correctly after doing your blind review, and then make an informed decision about what to do with those questions based on your immediate goals. That could range from completely ignoring them and focusing on other things to really digging in and making sure that you thoroughly understand those questions. Remember, what you want is to increase your actual score. That actual score on a timed practice test indicates what your current abilities are. Your goal is to make that actual score match your goal score. So hopefully what we talked about in this video will help you do that. If you haven't seen my first video about the 3 blind review methods, go ahead and take a look at that. I also have some other videos about blind review. Visit my website, scottmillercoaching.com/LSAT, where you'll find links to those videos and some other helpful resources. Please give this video a like if you found it helpful, subscribe to my channel, and share this video with your friends who are studying for the LSAT. Thanks for watching.